Well, shooters and reloaders, Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the hot lead zone, and we really like our 9mm, right? It's the most popular handgun cartridge in the world, not just the US, but the world. So a lot of us want to be able to practice by duplicating the 9mm hardball factory rounds that you see on the left. And some of us buy bullets, like the two middle ones. They're purchased and we load them to match the 9mm factory. But a lot of us also like to cast our own bullets, and the Lee mold with a 124 grain tumble lube truncated cone is a very popular bullet for casting with Lee molds. And those are the two on the right. But we want to be able to duplicate factory full metal jacket so that we can practice. And even though factory hardball 9mm isn't that expensive, we can load our own cast bullet loads to match at a lot less cost, allowing us to practice even more. Well, this is a video reply to Michael Langley, because Michael has bullseye and red dot and AutoComp powder, and he'd like some help getting some loads for the 9mm that will match factory performance. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. Now, if you use Lee reloading die sets, then that's a good place to start, because what happens is Lee gives us, along with all this good stuff, reloading data right here in the instruction manual. So let's have a look at that. As usual, there are the regular disclaimers about us being the ones responsible for loading our ammo. But here is their reloading data. It starts with the stats for the 9mm. That's very important stuff to look at. And the primers that are used. Then here's their loading data. So Michael, we mosey over to the 124 grain lead bullet here, and you see there's not much in the way of powder. For sure there's no bullseye or red dot or AutoComp. But we can come down here to the 125 grain lead bullet, and we can use that for our 124s. And lo and behold, no bullseye, no red dot, but there's AutoComp right there. Starting load of 4.3 and a max load of 4.8. And the 4.8 will give us 1101 feet per second, which is factory duplication, full metal jacket. However, Michael, I'm sure you understand that to be safe, we want to start at the 4.3 grains and work up to the 4.8 for safety. So that takes care of AutoComp. So next, I recommend going to published reloading manuals for reloading data, like these manuals here. But you'll hear a lot of shooters today tell you just go to the internet. But the internet has some stuff in there that might be a little questionable. Cannot go wrong with good published reloading manuals, like the Lee down there at the bottom, a couple of Lyman's, the Sierra manual, the Hornady manual, and Nosler. Now notice Hornady, some people will say Hornaday, and I always smile when I hear that because I don't see an A in there, but we know what they're talking about. It's all okay. One very good source that's often overlooked is the reloading data that's put out by the actual powder manufacturers, like these here. These are called reloading guides, and they're all available free whenever you go to a gun store, especially if you buy some powder. Ask for every one they have. They'll give them to you, because the factories that make the powders want everybody to get these. And here are some more current ones. Like there's Western Powders, there's the Alliant, and here's IMR, and then there's another more current. The Alliant one is especially good because it has loads for cowboy action shooting with all the popular calibers, but that doesn't help Michael Langley because the 9mm isn't in there. So let's go ahead and turn to the 9mm. So Michael Langley, look at that. Column for bullseye and red dot, right up our alley. So there's the 9mm, and the 125 grain lead is what we want, and it gives us 4.9 maximum load for bullseye. The pressure 32,000, that's getting up there. That's light end 357 magnum pressure, but 1165 feet per second right along with factory. And with red dot, 4.5 red dot gives us the same performance. So there you go. But again, the best thing to do is to start by cutting 10% off of that and using that for a beginning load to be safe. And then working up to these maximum charges as you go along. So Michael Langley, there you go, straight from Alliant. Well, one question a lot of people would ask is, then take that 4.9 grains of bullseye maximum load for the 9mm Luger and the 125 grain lead bullet. And sometimes when we go to our published reloading manuals from companies like Lyman or Lee, and we turn to the 9mm, there is the 124 grain bullet. Well, let's expand on that. 124 grain cast bullet for the 9mm Luger, and you see bullseye starting charge at 3.7, but a maximum charge of 4.1. And what gives? The Alliant says 4.9 to get that kind of velocity, and the pressure was 32,000 in the Alliant manual. A lot of difference between 4.1 maximum and 4.9 maximum, isn't there? So what do you do when you see situations like that? Or look at other examples. And we might be confused because here's an earlier edition of the Lyman Cast Bullet Handbook. And when you turn to the 9mm Luger with the 124 grain bullet, this is a 121 grain bullet, but it gives bullseye at 4.4. And today it gives 4.1. So 4.4 maximum for about the same velocity and the same pressure as Alliant says with 4.9 grains. So there's a little bit of confusion there. Which one do we believe? Here's another bullet that's the same 121 grains, and again 4.4 grains of bullseye. And red dot, 4.5 grains of red dot. So Michael Langley, there's your red dot, 3.8 grains to start, 4.5 for a maximum. So Mike Langley, suppose you live a long way from a range and the range fees are expensive and you want to go ahead and get a load for your 9mm, but you're concerned that you don't want to make 4 or 5 trips to range to get a good load for your 9mm. Well, you could go ahead and load right to the maximum with red dot here, 4.5 grains, or bullseye 4.9 grains, but at least load up, say, 3 or 4 rounds with a starting load of 10% less, and go ahead and use those for safety testing. Shoot those first. And if your gun functions and the primers look okay and the gun didn't want to fly apart in your hand, well, that's good safety testing then. Then maybe have 3 or 4 rounds loaded halfway in between your starting load of 10% less and the maximum, and shoot those and see if the pressure signs and the functioning is still good. And that's again safety. But then if everything's nice and safe, then go ahead and shoot your maximum charges, and that'll save your range fees and your trip to the range and this kind of thing. So Michael Langley, I hope this all helps. The important thing is to use starting loads or use 10% reductions to get your safety testing done. Michael Langley, the most efficient use of range time would be to do what's called ladder testing, where you do the starting load and the maximum load, and then incrementally approach the maximum load with 5-round groups and shoot those for accuracy and pressure and safety testing while you're working up the load. And if you get one that shoots real well, that's it. You're good. So good shooting to you, Michael Langley. Bye for now.